All right, we're going to be talking about the authority relationship continuum. So this training module is going to cover a concept that we use in working with kids that has turned out to be a pretty key way we look at our relationship with the kids. So everybody, their own personality, tends to be more on the authority side or the relationship side. So if you look at the slide, you're going to see on one end of the continuum is relationship. So this would be the kind of person who is that has too much relationship, and you see there's a fulcrum there. So consider this like a teeter-totter of a balance, kind of a balancing act. So somebody that has sort of too much relationship is somebody who likes to avoid conflict. They're a peacemaker. They want to be a cool staff. They want to be more of a friend than an authority figure. They don't have really much command over the kids because they're sort of afraid of conflict. They're kind of soft. They ignore structure, again, mostly to please kids, to be liked, to avoid conflict. They're not rule bound. They're not good at following rules necessarily. So this is really too much relationship and too little command. This is not healthy, so you would be off balance in that situation. So let's go to the other side of the continuum. This would be on the authority side. So this would be like a drill sergeant, okay? So somebody who really isn't into relationship that much. They're very rule bound. They're highly disciplined in their personal life and at work. They're all about structure. They tend to be more serious, less fun, less play. And they really have an inverse ratio. When we talk about ratio of positive to negative, Riverstone's having a 5-to-1 ratio as our goal. This person would really be more of a 1-to-5. So they're really looking and scanning for something that's not going well and trying to correct it. So this is a problem, obviously. We're not looking for drill sergeants here. I'm not trying to hire people that are going to be bouncers or security guards. We're really looking for somebody with a balance of authority and relationship. So we know that rules without relationship lead to rebellion with teenagers. And so it's very important that we have a healthy balance of the two. Now, everybody sort of naturally, kind of their personality falls one way or the other a little bit. You probably wouldn't be hired or listening to this video if you were too extreme on the relationship side or too extreme on the authority side, because I can kind of sniff that out when I'm doing interviews. And so we're really looking for somebody who has a good balance. So if you look at the center part of the model here, between the two parentheses, there's a shaded area. And this means that we really want to operate in our interactions with the kids between those parentheses. So certainly not right in the middle, and no one that I know has a perfect balance between authority and relationship. Your personality tends to skew you one way or the other. So naturally, you're going to be a little bit out of balance based upon your personality, and that's okay. We just have to be aware of what we can do to balance it back out. Okay, so let's say that if you were to put an X on this continuum about where you're most comfortable, let's say you are more about relationship. Great. Let's say you put an X right at the edge of the shaded area there. You really are more about connection with the kids, and you're not so much tough about rules and stuff. I mean, you can do it, but you're really more comfortable over the relationship. And conflict, yeah, you can do it, but it's kind of awkward for you. So let's just say that your natural personality, you would put the X right on the edge of the shaded part. That's okay. What that means is you have to take some actions to balance out that continuum. And if you see over on the bottom right of the model, how do you seek balance if you're too far on the relationship side? Then you would need to enforce schedule, for instance. Now, what happens is that staff, if you have a more authority person and a more relationship person, oftentimes naturally, just organically, what happens is the more authority person implements a schedule because they're more rule bound, they're more conscious of these things, they're more disciplined, and the relationship person is kind of off playing with the kids. But if you're out of balance that way, and we'll talk about also being balanced as a team, not just as an individual, but if you're Out of balance, you need to take the initiative in looking at the time and implementing the schedule. This gives you that authority command. So you're playing basketball and it's time to study. You would say, hey guys, we have 5 more minutes and it's time to study. Oh, come on, let's play some more, let's finish this game. No, it's time to go, we need to study. What shouldn't happen is that the authority person yells from the inside, hey, it's time to study. That puts the team out of balance, okay? So that's an example of following the schedule. Be aware of time. Be really consistent with the rules. I mean, of course, it's a requirement of the job to be very consistent and predictable with the rules, but be very consistent with them. The person who has too much relationship and they're out of balance, they tend to do favors for kids. They tend to overlook things for kids, especially if they like them. Or they tend to overlook things for kids that they think might go off or give them a hassle or a problem. And so it's very important to be very consistent with the rules. I had a kid tell me one time, I said, so who's your favorite staff? And he said, John. And I said, so why John? And he said, because he's very, very strict, but he's very consistent. And he's a really nice guy. So I thought it was peculiar that they picked the most strict staff that they liked the best. And I said, well, why do you like him if he's so strict? He goes, because you always know what he's going to do. You know that if you bring food in the living room, you're going to get special care every time. And some staff, one day they won't, and they'll let you have food in there, and the other day they give you special care. And that's really confusing, and it makes me very angry. So that level of consistency is something that they actually really want, that predictability. So if you have too much relationship, these are some things that you can do. High level of accountability, and then grading their chores. Of course, you should be doing this anyway, but making sure that you're following the rules of the house and not just there to relate to the kids and to play and let everybody else run the program. There's also a little danger with this if you're working with a supervisor or a lead staff, that sometimes the line staff will tend to be more the play person, and then the lead staff or house manager is sort of relegated to the schedule and following the rules and giving consequences, and that shouldn't be either. We're going to come back to the team balance here in a second. So let's say that you're more skewed towards authority. Let's say, looking at the model, that you would put the X on the right side edge, the authority edge of that shaded area, and that's okay too. You know, that would probably, supervisors tend to be more on the authority side. They're more structured, they're more administrative, they're more consistent and things like that. If you're really into fitness and you go to the gym consistently for years, you're probably more, you're clean and organized. You're probably more on the authority side, most likely. Maybe not, but most likely. So what do you need to do if your natural tendency is to be more on the authority side? Well, let's look at the box on the bottom left. Bottom line, play. Play is relationship. Play says you and I are connected and we're having a good time and all is well with us. And so if you're implementing structure and discipline and rules, these kids need to play with you in order to maintain that balance. So you need to initiate it, and all this takes conscious intention and awareness to be able to do this. Otherwise, you're just going to be operating sort of on autopilot, and you're going to be out of balance. So playing with them, play board games with them, play basketball with them, play catch with them. Another thing to do is to talk to them. Ask them about their day, about their relationships. Again, this is all about connecting with them. Ask them the best thing that happened to them today. Laughing with them. Again, laughing says relationship, right? It's all about that. You don't laugh with your drill sergeant. You laugh with somebody that you have a good relationship with. And so talking, laughter, fun, play, these are the things you need to do to balance that out. So that's what you do as an individual. We call that intrapersonal balance. So what about interpersonal balance? That is your balance with the other staff member or members that are working with you. Again, your natural tendency is, your default is to do the things that you're most comfortable with. And so what happens on shifts is, whether it be a person of authority or just a personality issue, that you're actually pushed to the extreme. So if you're on with somebody who's more authoritative, you do all the playing, they do all the disciplining and all the scheduling and all the prompting, to follow the schedule, and then you're out of balance that way. The problem with that, you'd think that, well, we even each other out, we balance each other out. No, it doesn't work that way, because what happens is the person who's giving all the discipline ends up being the bad guy, and the one who's doing all the relating and all the playing is the fun staff. And so it really relegates the authority person to a negative role, and we don't want that also. So it's not only important to be balanced as an individual, but it's important to be balanced as a team. And again, this takes conscious intentionality and discussion between the two of you. So over the years, what I've seen is staff would come to me and they would say, you know, I don't feel like I have a good relationship with the kids. They're not responding to me well, or I don't feel like they like me, or something's not right. Most of the time, we're able to get out this model and we're able to say, where are you at on this? How have things been going? And we invariably find that they're out of balance. And so we give them some tasks to balance it out. Or we call in the other members that they're working with, or they talk to the other staff members that they're working with, and they say, hey, you know what? Let me make dinner tonight, and then you play with the kids. I'll go out with the playtime, and you go out to playtime, and I'll make dinner. And I know it's always been the other way, but we need to mix this up because I'm really feeling out of balance. Or if you're the play person, then make sure that you're following the schedule as I mentioned. So this takes a lot of conscious effort on the both of your part to stay balanced as a team also, because it really polarizes each other if you just sort of act by your default mechanisms. So again, the idea here is to oscillate back and forth, right? So sometimes when you're playing with the kids, you're in a relationship, and then you need to follow schedule, right? So we're oscillating back and forth, and within those parentheses is what the goal is for your interaction. So be really consciously aware of that, and step back and take a look at where you think you are at on the continuum. If I were to have a pen here and I were to draw other parentheses, let's say I drew parentheses further out, this would really be more like of a clinical case manager. So they oscillate back. They have a higher level of authority, so they have to have a higher level of relationship in order to balance that out. And I'm sort of the extreme example because I have the power to kick a kid out, for instance. So I have the ultimate authority. I accept them and terminate them. So I have to really balance it out on the relationship side, or they're just going to see me as a warden, right? I'm going to be the bad guy that just kicks people out and makes all the tough decisions, but they won't really feel like I care about them. So the harder we are on kids, the more we need to present it on a platter of love and relationships. So the kids really need to sense that I genuinely care, or they're going to just see me as a warden. So this is when I take them on trips and I play with them and I nurture them, and when I'm around, I try to be very fatherly with them, because obviously if they get in a lot of trouble, they end up in my office. So my parentheses are sort of the whole thing, and then moving into where a child care worker is what's represented here on the model. So take a step back every once in a while and look at yourself and see where you think you are. And again, don't see it as a weakness, see it as information so that you can seek to improve yourself.